Rebel Rogue.
So, hello and welcome to this episode of Rebel Rogue, where today I'm going to be just unboxing and building a few Primaris HQ choices and elites. So the first one here is a Primaris captain. A standard captain, no graviton or anything like that, and here we see me struggling to get into the packaging. They really need to change their boxes. I made an entire short on the fact that they need to change their boxes. So, yeah. You do sometimes have to take a knife to it. That is a recommended way of opening one of these boxes. Now, I will say that I'm not scripting this video because I don't like scripting. It takes forever and I sound really unnatural. Here we have our transfers for Ultramarines Primaris characters, but of course my chapter isn't Ultramarines, but I might still use a few of them. A standard 40mm base and 2 sprues allowing you to build a Primaris captain. I do really like the cloak on this model, and it is technically optional. You don't have to put it on. Same with the crest. You have 2 head options, one that can have a crest on it. You can of course fill the hole, and one without. And there's also options to have either a pointing hand, a sword hand, and there's a couple of options of bolter. There is only one bolter body, but it's the magazine that changes. And make sure you don't cut the little paper insert, because that is the instructions on how to build the model. It is in 2 parts, so do remember that. Very simple, easy to follow instructions, much better than some other brands I've seen, such as Perry Miniatures. They don't have the best instructions, but they do have quite clear, easy to build models. But these are very clear for the models included. So, taking your clippers and clipping with the flat side. Make sure you've got clippers that have a flat side against the part you want, and just cutting them out carefully, following the instructions as you go. Then I take my knife very carefully and I scrape the little tabs that are left over off. Do be aware that if you have got a sharp blade on there, yes, a blunt blade is not ideal, but also a sharp blade, be very, very careful with it. I have cut my thumb a couple of times doing this because I had a very sharp blade. Not on this one, but in later afterwards I was assembling some Blood Bowl. I managed to cut my finger, and more recently I managed to cut the thumb again on assembling some Perry Miniatures Napoleonics, which I'm not using for Napoleonics. Anyway, just carefully make sure that you've got a sharp blade, otherwise there's a good chance you'll slip. But then taking the back of the blade, or you can just bring the actual blade itself vertical to the slab, vertical to the side, and you just run along the mold lines, carefully scraping them to remove them. Again, just continuing as we see. I'd also like to mention that the next video will be the channel anniversary video. And currently I am debating whether or not to extend that video, because I have painted a model to battle ready standard. I haven't highlighted it up like I would normally with a character. So I'm debating whether to put that up. Leave your thoughts in the comments down below. Just following the same process, a little bit of glue each time on each part and just assembling it. I did try to leave the cloak off, but I worked out that I just wasn't going to bother. Watching this video back also reminds me that I need to work more on the actual painting video I've got planned for these. So I have left some pieces off for sub-assemblies, including the bolter and the helmet rather. And now we're going to move on to the Primaris chaplain. So we have the Primaris chaplain. It is in exactly the same sort of packaging. I sort of like this packaging, but I don't like the text down the side of it. I just think it ruins the atmosphere a bit, and I much prefer boxes. Much prefer them. Anyway, it comes with a standard 40mm base and another ultramarine Primaris transfer sheet. This time I think I just cut into the box. It's a much easier method just to cut all the way around it, and it comes off a lot easier. Until you get to one of those awful knobbly bits, and then you just have to try not to break the sprues whilst you're getting into it. And there we are. Pretty much into it now. This transfer sheet is a bit dodgy. It seems to have printed wrong or been wet and slipped. So I will have to use the other one for any of the chaplain parts I want to put on it. It is a bit of a bummer, especially if you've only got one character and this happens to you and you're like, ag, I don't have transfers now, but luckily I have multiples. I also have far too many ultramarine infantry transfer sheets for the intercessors and all the rest of it. As you can see, we get the standard stats. We get a picture of the model, 2 pictures of the model in fact, and we get the stats for 9th edition, but I already have the Space Marine Codex, so don't really need them. As you can see, it's just a single sprue, and of course the instructions are inside the booklet, but it is a single sprue and it is a monopose model. There are no options for it, but you can find on second-hand sites and such like, you can find the Untitled Chaplain if you prefer that one. I prefer this one though. I like the skull mask, I like the hood. It looks very Dark Angels to me, and I do quite like that aesthetic. As before, taking clippers flat side against them, I really need to get new clippers because I'm using wire cutters, like jewellery wire cutters. I've used them for years, but they're not the best. They haven't got the flattest edge, they haven't got the sharpest point. They're not particularly as accurate as they could be. But it does leave a little bit of the sprue left, meaning I don't go horribly wrong when clipping to the part. Do be careful of that as well. This is a newer style of video with doing the voiceovers. I am trying it out. I do find that it leads me to, it takes a very long time to do, and so I get demotivated to do them. And I end up doing comedy and such like, which is never a good thing. Don't let me do comedy. It means I don't get these videos produced properly. So after the channel anniversary, videos may be a bit slower because I have to up the actual quality and they take longer to produce. And people who help me with the channel, who help the Facebook page and such like, have recommended doing like 50 videos in the next year, or 50, 52, something like that. But I'm like, I cannot actually get that goal because I have to ramp up video production and I've got a whole lot of other commitments that I've got to go through, and it takes a while to do these. I also don't really have the patience to sit through this much footage. So, yeah. Anyway, I think some of the footage may have corrupted. Did it corrupt? Might not have done. No, maybe not. Anyway, just taking off the rest of the parts. I think I took the legs off and making sure I get rid of the little knobbly bits. Hashtag knobbly bits. To get them off. And just removing the mold lines as I did before. I really should get a drink when I do these voiceovers. dry throat. I suppose it helps to do AMSR stuff. I would recommend not watching these videos at 3 AM in the morning in your local time. They're probably not the best for getting you to sleep. They might make you think about buying more miniatures, and that's not a good thing. Unless you haven't got anything to paint, in which case it's a very good thing. Unless you also haven't got much money, in which case it's a very bad thing. So, yes, if you're watching this at 3 AM in the morning, please turn it off now and watch it and resume watching in the morning. Get some sleep. Of course, I'm technically recording this at 3 AM, but not 3 AM local time. Not 3 AM Greenwich Mean Time. What is it? 3 AM 11 hours ahead. It's 3 AM, so 13 hours behind. It's also 3 AM, which is about the same place. So, yeah. As before, using the polycement. I do apologise if I haven't got rid of the background noise of my computer fan whirring. I should have done, and if I haven't, please leave it in the comments down below, and I won't fix it. As you can see, just going around, cleaning up the relevant bits, and trying not to get off on a tangent. Unfortunately, due to recording these using video and then speeding them up in editing and such like, for most of this I couldn't listen to anything, but if I had been able to, I probably would have been listening to something like Paint Bravely the podcast, or what's the other one? Not Paint All the Minis. I don't listen to that very much. The Scott and John's Miniacs podcast. Trapped Under Plastic, that's the one. Both very good podcasts. I would recommend listening to them. I haven't been listening to them very much because I often don't get as much time as I'd like to sit down and listen to podcasts and such like. And I sometimes get sidetracked watching YouTube videos whilst painting or listening to them. So, yeah. Oh, how fun is it going to be to edit this video? I do hope you have enjoyed the comedy videos I've done, and the sort of shorts. What was it? The GW's Profits Are Falling, and what was the one I did before that? Public service broadcast, that's the one. If you'd like to see another public service broadcast, or another James and Jacob video, then please leave it in the comments down below. That skull fitting there is a bit of a fiddly join, so if you've got some like plastic glue activator, don't know if you can get that, I recommend something like that, or super glue with activator. Probably a good option. I do actually really like the bolt pistol this guy has. What do they call it? Can't remember what they call it. I think it's the Absolver bolt pistol. It's just like a really cool design. I think it's a bit bigger than a heavy bolt pistol, but it's not big enough to be a bolt carbine. It's just one of those amazing designs. At the minute, I'm just thinking about what music I'm going to put to this. Whether I should compose a new track or just put some stuff I've already done on it. If you would like to see, like to hear any of my music itself, leave down in the comments below, and I might upload a couple of tracks. If that's something you'd be interested in. Of course, if it's not, then just also leave it in the comments below, and I won't bother. And then, yeah. I'm just wondering where the footage for the ancient went. Where on earth is that? Surely can't be enough time. I think at some point in part of the footage I've recorded if the chaplain corrupts, so I don't get it, but I don't know where. Oh, no. Well, I can't see any of the footage. Better check the footage then. It seems as if the audio I had for building a Primaris Ancient has got lost in the pile of shame, so that is the end of the video. If you have enjoyed this video, please give it a like. If you haven't enjoyed this video, please give it a like. If you're a bit in the middle as to whether you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. Share it with anyone you think it would be very useful with, especially people who are just new into the hobby. If you really enjoy this video and aren't subscribed already, please do consider subscribing. It is free, costs you absolutely nothing, and boosts the channel, boosts my ego, allows me to make more of these videos, gives me a reason to continue making these videos. And as always, I will see you for the next video. Carry on hobbying, I suppose.